Well, it's been a hell of a week for the New York Jets, and we haven't touched this topic yet on Boy Green Daily, the wild story from the Athletic that had all kinds of action happening there, plus Rex Hogan's exit, but it didn't happen this week, but we learned of it this week. A lot to dive into. Let's get this party started, folks.
Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Post-Rodgers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas. What's poppin', everybody? Paul Weston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. Just simply search for, go on the little phones or the apps or whatnot, and search for Boy Green Daily. You'll find it. Wow, we got a lot to get into on today's show. We have not touched the Athletic Jet story of dysfunction, plus the Rex Hogan's exit. When did it really happen? Was he the leak? That's what people are saying on social media. We'll get into all that jazz. Plus, we'll have a couple of bonus episodes. Stay tuned to the channel, youtube.com/boygreen25. We got a few special big-time guests joining us. A couple of current players, a couple of team insiders. Keep an eye out. We're going to get juicy beyond the Boy Green Daily, so keep an eye out for that. But every Friday, joining me on the program is Italy Jet, a fellow Jets content creator extraordinaire. What's up, Italy?
What's up? Ciao. Good morning, everyone in the chat. Oh my gosh. When there is a storm, it becomes a hurricane, I guess. Wherever in your area, everything's different. For me, it's a tornado where I'm at. But man, good morning, Boy Green. Hope all is well. Good morning in the chat. Ciao, everyone. And holy crap.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. So, by the way, belated happy birthday to Robert Saleh. I'm going to be honest.
What a birthday. What a birthday.
You think? You know, it's funny. So, because of my work, heavy on Jets, obviously, the main sponsor of this show. So God bless Heavy on Jets for making all this possible, and you guys supporting the articles, which makes our show possible. I get to see we have a graphics team that works with us. I can bring you guys a little behind the scenes, and they organize birthdays for coaches and players. And I saw coming up on the docket was a Robert Saleh birthday. I'm like, oh, holy crap, it's his birthday. I look it all up. I'm like, oh, wow, he's going to turn 45 on January 31st, apparently. I'm like, cool. Let me do a pre-draft tweet, so I'll be ready in the morning. I'll send him a nice little happy birthday for old Robert Saleh. That'll be great. And so I set all that up, and then I go to sleep. And then the next morning, whatever, I tweeted out, happy birthday, Robert Saleh. 2024 is going to be a great year. And now I'm getting all these comments like, oh boy, it's not going to be a great birthday. And I didn't understand what they were talking about because I had not seen the massive article from The Athletic yet. And then, so talk about poor timing, or maybe good timing, because the Jets' Twitter account didn't wish him a happy birthday. So that was a little odd. But anywho, did not know the timing of that, then read that report. Yeah, happy birthday, you bastard. Booyah. Right on his doorstep. So I'm going to be honest, I don't really know where to start because there's just there's characters in this story. Robert Saleh, Nathaniel Hackett, Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot in this Athletic story. Plus, on top of all of that, Rex Hogan ends up getting tossed out. But we hear from Rich Cimini, even though it was reported he was tossed out on January 31st, apparently that had happened weeks ago, and thus he wasn't the leak. So I guess let me start there with the Rex Hogan thing. First off, this is a major move. Okay.
Yeah.
Rex Hogan has been the assistant general manager since 2019. Prior to that, he was with the Jets from 2015 through 2017 as their director of college scouting. Like, he was a very important piece to the puzzle back then, a very important piece to the puzzle now. He had his hands all over the 2024 NFL or not 2024. He had his hands all over the draft room and was a key piece with old Joe Douglas on making these key decisions. So him getting tossed out, whether it's at the end of the season or now, is massive because that's a voice that you are removing from the draft room for the New York Jets moving forward. And now he's gonzo. So I ask you this, first off, what was your reaction to that? Because that felt like a massive move. And number two, did you buy the social media rumors that you believe he was in fact the leak for the Athletic story?
Well, wasn't it before I ask you that? Before I
Yeah.
answer, it wasn't the running backs coach one of them? The
The
leaks
leaks
too?
you're talking about? Well,
Yeah, yeah,
that I don't know. Some people have speculated Taylor Embry, another one,
yeah.
Zach Azani. We still don't know if he's part of the
Right.
team or not
Yes.
part of the team because
Right.
Zach
Because we
Rosenblatt
did
said
replace
he
him.
hasn't officially been fired or removed yet, but he's still
Right.
technically on the team. So, but he
Right.
was replaced by Sean Jefferson. So, yeah, you could point to any assistant or positional coaches that was replaced as potential guys that could have been leaks. But the main rumor is that it was Rex Hogan feeding information to either Diana Rossini or Zach Rosenblatt. That's the rumors on social media.
Yeah, and that's and honestly, even though it is a big move, like I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked.
I
It's
am.
it's becoming more and more in the last decade that leaks are everywhere in this organization. And just like Aaron Rodgers said a few months ago, it's a problem. It's a
Sure.
problem. And
Mhm.
this doesn't shock me. I'm saying 3 months ago that this is going to be even more and more that's going to come out. I don't know which coach it's going to be. I don't know part of the GM staff it's going to be somewhere in the organization because we do know that even our owner is very active on social media. So
Yeah,
it's
quite.
I don't know. Everyone's has everyone's opinions until something comes out. Like even on Instagram, what one of the biggest Instagram guys that feeds breaking news, like they thought it was the running back coach. So for me,
Mm,
I'm like, you know what? It's a little bit of everything because
probably. Yeah.
this team has been leaking crap for so long, like
Yeah.
everywhere. We are the pun of everything. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, Boy Green.
Well, I will just say this. You brought up the Woody piece. It's phenomenal to hear that Jets Twitter has made such an impact that Woody Johnson is showing tweets to Robert Sala. Can you see what they're saying about this team? Like that is real, is quite frankly hilarious. So
Right,
that's
right,
awesome
right.
that we're doing funny videos on there. It's like, did you see what Boy Green said? What in God's green earth is going on here? I'm like, thank you, Woody, for being a longtime supporter of the show. We appreciate that. Yeah, so the leaks could be coming from anywhere. There's no doubt about it. And someone asked, where's that question? Someone asked what to do with the leakers. Who was that? Oh, Johnny. There it is. Let's throw this up on YouTube. Question for both Green and Italy. What can we do to take out the leakers? Should we do it like Godfather style? Well, I mean, we heard in The Athletic what Robert Saleh tried to do, and the original part of the
Right,
story was The
right.
Athletic, Diana Rossini and Zach Rosenblatt a bunch of weeks ago. This was during the season. They had the story that Zach Wilson was reluctant to go back into the starting lineup.
Mhm.
And apparently, when that story was leaked, Robert Saleh immediately, according to The Athletic, scheduled a meeting with a bunch of his coaches the very next day. And he said,
Yeah.
okay, guys, whoever's the leaker, come on, just step forward. We can handle this like adults. You won't be punished. You're not going to be grounded. Just come out and say it's you. And
Right.
apparently, no one's stepping up to the plate. And Saleh starts threatening, like, all right, let me see your phones. Let me see your phones. It's like my father. I feel like I'm back
Yeah.
in middle school.
I feel
Phone.
like I'm in trouble by both of them.
Yeah, no. Phone right now. Let's see it. Let's see what we could do here. Phone. And then like everyone's like, what is going on here? So then it got pretty crazy. So
Yeah,
how do you
yeah.
do it? I'm going to be honest. I think to your point, Italy, the leaks are just going to happen. That's just the nature of the business.
Oh,
These
yeah.
reporters like
Oh, yeah.
Diana Rossini or Zach Rosenblatt are going to develop relationships with general managers, coaches, whoever, and they're going to
Right.
get to talk. And when things are good, when you're winning, there's less leaks because there's,
Yeah.
they write about Diana Rossini, Zach Rosenblatt, and others of the world write about what's happening. The Jets have stunk. They have not made the playoffs in 13 years, and they were in all kinds of dysfunction over the last couple of years, as we've seen. So what are we writing about? Seems like there's some dysfunction here. Let's write and report on that. If they're winning and going to playoffs or winning Super Bowls, none of this crap is coming out because they're winning. There's no point. There's nothing to complain or whatever about. So the fact of the matter is, they're always going to be there. And the cure-all, I know this is going to sound simple. It's easier said than done, of course. Win. The antidote, the elixir that is magical, is to win. And if you win, you cure these ails. So I don't think there's a way, quite frankly, bluntly, to get rid of the leakers, to be honest with you, because I think those relationships are going to happen. Like, for instance, I'll just be honest with me. I've got several, players on the team that I'm very close with. And that, so if I wanted information, I could reach out to those players. Hey, what's going on? And I know players on offense, defense, special teams flex on them because Boy Green, baby, flex on them, baby. So I know all these people that, they could give me info. And same thing for these reporters on obviously even more advanced levels than that, who are covering the team on a day-to-day basis. So I feel like that's just going to happen. So, but I know Jared B., a member of the Boy Green Superfan Club, appreciates your support for the show. He said calling someone paranoid, that's a situation where, he was demanding phones and all that other jazz. That seemed as paranoid as you can get. The thing, though, I want to evolve this conversation and throw something else at you, Italy, that really bothered me. And I hope it bothered a lot of Jet fans. So Aaron Rodgers goes down. And, obviously that sucked. We had built up all this hype and momentum and hope. But as an eternal optimist that I am, I'm like, okay, maybe Zach Wilson can be Kurt Warner. Maybe Dick Vermeil. We will rally around Zach Wilson. We will figure this. And I was praying for it. I was hoping for it. I'm like, maybe that can happen. But according to The Athletic, that's not the mentality of the team. It wasn't like, okay, how do we adjust here? It went from playoffs, I can pull up the line, but it went from, competing for the playoffs to survival. Like, hey, we need to it's self-preservation time, baby. This season is in the tanks, and we just got to do whatever we can to just keep this ship afloat. And that hurts because as Jet fans, we were hoping that this team was doing everything in its power to try to win. But it seems like, at least from that particular angle, they were more so concerned about keeping their jobs and things of that nature and excuse making. That part of it was tough. Apparently, Robert Saleh, on his own accord, looked up data of really good coaches that lost their quarterbacks, and then the records were terrible. And he's like, hey, look, see? It's almost like he was looking for an excuse to say, hey, look, no one could do anything with this. No one else in history has done anything with this. So me, I should be safe. That part really hurt me as a Jets fan.
I mean, overall, when you look at this, situation, this is just a poor run team right now. Like, if you look at what Garrett Wilson has said, if you look what Sauce Gardner has said over the past few weeks, when you look at Mosley, like, some of them are blaming this stuff on even Hard Knocks. Just looking at Aaron Rodgers getting lost into his greatness coming in, and also just even Garrett Wilson saying that this can't happen again. Right. Like it goes on and on and on. And not only that, when your coach keeps backpedaling, it's not even a good work on it too, because all the positivity with the coaches, with the shirts, his shirts. We can even go back to even the year before with all that. With all the shirts, with Uzama and Barrios on who Mike White or Team Wilson. It gets lost. But Boy Green, I was the same way with you. Rally around Zach Wilson, dig for a meal. Like, I was 100% that guy too. I was with you on that. No, it's not the case. And they didn't help themselves, even when they won against the Eagles, to even bring in another quarterback. And we have been screaming all year long last year to bring in a backup just in case something happens. But it didn't.
Yeah, that's another part of the story as well that Avatar just threw in here. Remember, he said, it's unfair. Look, the Giants are being covered in this way. The Jets are being covered in this way. Again, it was just, I couldn't, but I mean, Jet fans complain about that, I'm sure. But I just couldn't believe that made it to the head coach's desk. That is, wow. Unbelievable. Yeah. Wow, we're just getting tons of comments in here, so I'll try to sift through as many of these as possible. Some people are saying this hit piece, as it's being described, it will keep free agents from coming here and will succeed. I'm going to be honest, no, Ron. No. It's if a free agent, because
I
like
don't think
I can
so.
tell you this from my high school football team. Okay, that there were players on that team that were motivated by getting to the league, and then there were guys who were motivated. Hey, I'm just really good at this, so I'm just going to keep doing this. Okay, and for the folks that just care about certain things, some people are driven by money. Hey, who's going to give me the most money? Bryce Huff was very clear, and hey, no shame on this, by the way. But after the season, he's very blunt. I'm going to go to whoever pays me the most money, whether it's the Jets, and he didn't say any of these teams. I'm paraphrasing now, but the Jets, the Commanders, the Buccaneers, whoever, I don't give a flying hoot, whoever gives me the most money. So if the Jets in for a free agent like that, they give him the most money, he's coming back. So no, I do not believe this will keep free agents from coming to the Jets. The Jets have to overcome their own demons here, ultimately, to get there. So no, for me, I don't believe that. And also the people, there's a lot of comments in here of Vrabel this year, Vrabel next year. Again, we were on February 2nd, and I get it. There's a lot of talented coaches still out there. The Ben Johnson's going back. You have Vrabel, Carroll, Belichick. I come in here, but Belichick
Quinn is
out
with the
there like,
Commanders now.
yeah, right. All these names, like I get it, but there's just no way on February 2nd you're like, okay, we're going to fire everybody. That would look really bad. You want something that will keep free agents away. That sort of late reaction, saying they're 100% safe at the end of the season, and then a month goes by, like, just kidding, I'm going to switch. If I'm a player, I'm like, wow, that lack of commitment to anything and just the freewheeling nature would scare me off as a player. So Vrabel's going to be there next year. If that's a direction the Jets want to go, I hope personally that the Jets are not in any coach changing mentality, because that would mean the season was once again a failure. So I'd rather the Jets have all the success that I'm hoping they're going to have next year. That no coaching change would be required, because the Jets again would be in a good place. So I'm hoping no coaching change, but I understand people keeping an eye on it based on all this drama that's going on right now.
And I'm not saying this because it's the fan in me, the content creator in me. Like, we all thought that even though Wilson had like a red shirt year, right? Supposed to have that red shirt year, he had great moments this year. It wasn't always perfect, but he did have some great moments. And that's what we thought. Maybe the influence with Rodgers coming in, maybe thinking bringing in another quarterback, it was just Simeon and then Ripien at the time. Like, it wasn't going to change anything, but Zach Wilson, he did give us highlights, because what he did in the Chiefs game, what he did in the Eagles game, like, it's just, and then all of a sudden the defense, that was only our source for a while, even scoring, which was not good. But I thought it would be different. Like, I really thought it would have been really different.
That's another thing you said. That one also surprised me. So the Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers relationship. Again, there's so much to get into. I don't know if we could possibly get into it on a 25-minute show, but I'll try to get some of the highlights. So we'll go off of things that you said. The Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers dynamic, that the relationship was good. It was like big brother, little brother. And then during the season, when Zach Wilson had to take over, that the relationship, quote unquote, soured. That part of it is disappointing, because it seemed like Aaron Rodgers was really in on him. So I'm not really sure what happened there from that perspective. And it's funny, just a real quick aside, I see Phil jumped in here. I saw an article say we could get a fifth for Zach to the Seahawks. It's funny. People are aggregating my interview with Randy Mueller from a couple of weeks ago. So yes, he said that on this very show, actually. So yes, that was Randy Mueller. So yeah, there's a couple of heavy articles that are rerunning the or heavy on Chiefs site, re-rack the interview. The heavy on Seahawks site, re-rack that interview. So yes, it's getting some more play now, which is awesome. It was really cool to have Randy on at the end of the season to give a GM perspective. So yes, that I did see that as well, because he said that on the show. But we'll see what happens. Some people don't believe the Jets will be able to trade Zach Wilson. Some people believe they will for a late round pick. I believe the Jets will be able to ship him somewhere. I don't think it's going to be great value. We'll see if it's a
Right.
fifth. Randy has been, I don't know if high on Zach is the right way to put it, but
Right.
he believes that some of these Zach Wilson issues are Jets related, and that's what other teams will think, and they will think they can save Zach Wilson on their team. So we'll see. Again, the more important part
But
to me is the contract money they can save. Go ahead.
but think about it though. Like look at Sam Darnold. Look at Baker Mayfield and look at the way their careers have happened. Baker's been better, but Sam Darnold, that's what they thought when they were getting him from the Panthers. It was just a Jets related thing. And then the connection with Rule. Like if you're Zach Wilson or a coach, like you always want to change something. You always want to change the kid's form. Like coaches, that's why they coach because they want to change something so they can take the credit. They can go on that journey with them, but we didn't do that with this kid. That's what we haven't been done with a lot of our quarterbacks here. So yeah, the value is going to be, I think it will get anywhere between a 4th or 6th pick for him, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, that would be great. Both the draft pick, add more to the pile. Again, we should get news on comp picks in a month or so around the new league year. The Jets should be getting a couple new picks. Right now they have 5. They could get 2 or 3 thrown onto that pile. Hey, the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. Those will all be late round picks, but still picks are picks, and that'll be good to help. The other nugget I wanted to address, again, the massive, the article is massive for the Athletics, so you guys can check it out yourselves, but I'll try to highlight a few points here. The Nathaniel Hackett one was huge to me, and it was this. The big portion of that exam, personally, was that Robert Saleh. So Nathaniel Hackett is back as the OC. That's official. He's back.
Right.
But the thing that I found interesting was Robert Saleh, over the past couple of weeks and maybe weeks to come, was doing a deep dive to try to find someone to add to the room to mitigate Hackett's impact on the play calling and make it even more collaborative. So it started out as Hackett, then Todd Downing started getting with him, and now they're trying to bring up, according to the Athletic from the article, another senior voice, a proven guy, to add to the room. But I'm curious because they didn't mention any names, so I'll have to try to get Diana Rossini on the show and try to see who they're talking about here, because some people have floated out names like John Gruden, and that's a massive name. Is it somewhere in that realm of like name star power? Is it someone lesser? Is it an Aaron Rodgers guy from his past? There's a bunch of his coaches that have become available that could have connections in some way, or is it more Hackett connections in past? So I don't know where they're going to go with this, but that's the interesting one to me, that Saleh is willing to dip his toe in that water of changing it. But I would also say this. If you're going to change and do that sort of thing, unless it's an absolute person that moves the needle, if it's just some, I don't want to be rude to people, but if it's some random person that we've never heard of, it's going to be hard to inspire confidence. That's going to greatly affect the play calling situation. But the fact that they're dabbling with trying to minimize his impact with play calling, that doesn't seem great. Because they're not willing to make that happen. I don't know. I'm a little, the Nathaniel Hackett piece of this puzzle. They're trying to change seems kind of good because the play calling was so terrible. But at the same time, I don't know how we could go back the other way. I'm curious. The names, I guess, will ultimately tell me whether it's good or bad or indifferent.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be someone from the Packers past. I don't think it's going to be. I know John Gruden is very. I mean, that would be interesting, but
He was.
who?
Let me double check.
But
I'm pretty
who
sure
though?
Gruden was with all those boys in Green Bay land, and that's way predating Aaron Rodgers. That's more so a Brett Favre thing. Yeah, let me make sure I get that up. Yeah, he was the assistant in the
I know
90s. It was with Holmgren and everybody like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, with
that would
Brett
be
Favre.
interesting. Holmgren.
Sure. I mean, that'd be a big name. I've heard he's been flirting a lot with the Saints, and he has that connection to Carr. So that would be very interesting. Let's end on this, I guess. This will bring us full circle. Jared B asked the question, Paul, and I'll throw Italy in here as well. Do you believe everything in the article from what you know? I believe everything in the article. Interesting. Go ahead, Italy.
There's always truth to things, even if it becomes that it isn't. But Rossini is very well respected as a
Very plugged
reporter.
in. They had 30 team sources between them.
Exactly, correct. And Rosen as well between the both of them. And then
Yes.
I know just Justina Anderson was even commenting on yours, right? She didn't
That's
she
right.
quote tweet you or something? Yeah. So
Yeah,
there's
I don't think she or the Jets were very big fans of me making a joke about it. I
right, right,
tweeted out the Dexter line. I love that using that clip. Surprise, motherfucker! Like
right,
I
right, right, right,
that joke of like Zach Rosenblatt, Diana Rossini delivering the Robert
right.
Saleh birthday package. Surprise, motherfucker! At
Dude, that was
45 years
hilarious.
old.
That
And
was
I thought it was
hilarious.
funny. Apparently, Justina quote tweeted that, and I guess she must have heard from her Jet sources that they were not very pleased with how the situation played out. Nor, I guess, apparently, my making jokes of it. Yikes!
I love it.
Oops, sorry. So yes, I did see that from Josina, which was funny. But
I thought it was great. There's always
yeah,
a little truth to everything, though, guys. Like everywhere, even if you don't believe it or not, I still think that there is some truth. Always.
yeah, I've known Zach for a long time. I mean, I'll lay all my cards on the table here. I've known of Zach for a long time. We've known of each other. Um, I knew him when he was covering the Giants, and he's been in some other places before he got to Jetsland more recently. Diana, she follows me on Twitter. We know each other lightly of knowing each other's names, but I've never had her on for an interview or anything like that. I've had Zach on for tons of interviews on this show, so I've known him. I've known him a lot longer than I've barely glacially on the surface know Diana. But yes, to me, these are two well-respected reporters. I've heard of Diana's reputation, obviously, and Zach's I know as close to firsthand as possible. I do believe basically 99% of what I read in that article. They're both plugged-in reporters. I know people like they see the 30 number and they get kind of thrown off. And really, I would highly recommend you guys, Zach Rosenblatt. He's taking some time away from social media because he's getting a lot of stuff in his
Right.
mentions, but
Right.
he just did an interview on his own show, the Can't Wait podcast, with Tim McMaster and Marissa and everybody, and he explained on there that he wrote the original. This is where we'll end. His original article he submitted for the Athletic, because he worked along with Diana Rossini, was over 5,000 words. Okay, that was
Yeah.
his original report. Boom, Athletic, 5,000 words. They ended up cutting it to 3,000 words and change. They cut 2,000 words out of his story. And why? He explained it on the show. He said that there were some stories that, didn't pass the sniff test, or they didn't have enough sources to back it, or they couldn't vet it completely, or they didn't have enough. So, like, the Athletic went to an extreme level to make sure, and the New York Times, because they're all together though, that they filtered through every source, every story. And that's why it's taken 6+ months for the story to be written, come together, be vetted, and all these other things. So that's why I believe it, because the Athletic, to me, is as notable of a place as you can pick. They're also, again, backed by the New York Times. You have Zach Rosenblatt, who I know personally. We have Diana Rossini, who, again, is this well-known NFL reporter. And they explain the process of how all these sources are vetted. And when you think about it to that level, 30 sources between a national NFL insider and a team insider, and you pair all that together, yes, I do believe that all is true. I believe they're doing their jobs. And again, do I like what's written? Of course not. I don't like it from the standpoint of a Jets fan. Like, Jesus, this looks terrible for my team. This is not ideal. This is not a show I wish I had to schedule and speak about with you, Italy. No offense, but this is a show I would have preferred not to speak of because of all the horrible things in there. And it makes the Jets look like a laughing stock and a clown show and everything else. So from that perspective, I wish it wasn't true. But to be honest, to be subjective and to take a step back, you're like, wow, okay, it
It,
seems true.
and,
Yeah.
and I'll end on this note. I mean, it's things are gonna get worse before it's gonna get better, and if things don't change immediately, and at least the first few months before the draft, it's gonna be there's all kinds of stuff that could happen going into training camp because it's at the point where people are on the edge, including Garrett Wilson, including a lot of other big names. That's why there needs to be a quick turnaround, and I'm
Well,
worried about that.
Well, the Jets needed so Garrett Wilson. Remember how fiery he was at his end of season press
Yes.
conference? Like things need to change, and he was fired up.
You could
And
see
I
it in
love
his
it,
face, the
of
emotion,
course.
for
But the
sure.
thing that I love is that so he did Baggy Day, his end of season
Yeah.
press conference, and they stepped away. Right, he goes and does whatever he's going to do. And apparently, when he left that podium speaking to the media, he went up to Joe Douglas's office and Garrett Wilson poured all of his concerns on the table. I imagine some of those concerns, backup quarterback. You threw a backup quarterback in there that couldn't get the ball around, the offensive line, and this, that. And apparently, Joe Douglas answered all of his concerns because on the Tuesday after, when he joins the Bart and Hahn show, he said, "Wow, I spoke with Joe Douglas, and basically all my concerns were quelled." Which means he must have said, we're gonna go out." And I'm paraphrasing. Now this is me here, but we're gonna go out and get a badass backup quarterback. So whether Aaron Rodgers in there or the backup, you're gonna be good. We're gonna go fix that offensive line. We're gonna get you T. Higgins or whatever wide receiver too, so you get less pressure on you. This is what Joe Douglas must have said to him to answer all of his to quell his concerns. And now Joe Douglas is gonna have to do that for us, the fans. It's February 2nd. Free agency is next month. We've got the NFL Scouting Combine coming up later this month. We've got the Senior Bowl coming up this weekend. All of these things, it's up to Joe Douglas. The best way to solve to the best of his ability, to solve all of these issues and problems that are happening right now is simply this. Go get players. Go build an offensive line. Go get another pass catcher. Get a great backup quarterback. So the proof will be in the pudding. That's how I ultimately
Walk
bring
the
this
walk,
story full circle.
talk the
That's
talk.
it.
That's
That's
it.
it.
That's all we need.
And we'll see what happens from there. Everybody, thanks for joining us for this Boy Green Daily. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe on the way out if you can. We'd appreciate you on the YouTube channel. Again, we're well over 6,000 subs, and we want to keep shooting that even higher. Tomorrow morning, Hop on Pop, my father. I saw him very much in the comments. So, yeah, it's been really cool to do these shows with my dad. And we got the Aaron Rodgers one last week. Yeah, that one got some reactions. So my father, I saw my mother was in here earlier. The whole fam, they're all just, we're the Brady Bunch over here. And we will have an episode tomorrow morning. Hope you guys can check it out. Looking forward to it. God bless everybody. And we'll see you then. Take care.